Tonight on Health Conspiracy Radio, we are welcoming back Dr. Sowmya, so stay tuned. This is Nick Brannigan. You're listening to Health Conspiracy Radio.
Is there a health conspiracy? You can bet your bottom dollar. Genetically modified food, poison in your tap water, toxic, tainted, and abused meat and dairy, ingredients of mass destruction, poisonous pesticides and herbicides, deep psychological propaganda, food that makes your children go crazy. Do you think the FDA is meant to protect you? And just what in the world are they spraying in the skies? You have been a victim of mass programming, but it's never too late. Learn how to successfully make changes that last, leading you to a new life of health and vibrancy that most will never experience. Over the next hour, allow Nick Brannigan to share with you his research, expertise, and life experience. This is Health Conspiracy Radio.
Thank you for tuning in to Health Conspiracy Radio, our last time in the KLV studios on VegasOnTheRadio.com. Randy, don't get all emotional now. I know you're upset. You gotta hold those. You gotta be a grown up. No, I'm just teasing you. After the first break, about 10 after, gonna bring back Dr. Sowmya, Dr. Sowmya Sridharan. I think I got it right. She'll tell us in a minute. But I just had this experience before I came on the air, and I could see why people always talk about it. It's so inconvenient to eat organic and vegan. And part of the reason, one of the small reasons for leaving the studio is that I'm constricted to this time frame that I have to have. So Wednesdays are a super long day for me. Wednesdays are like, I leave my house early in the morning and I don't get back till late at night. So it's about a 15 hour day for me. So I got to pack my meals, and I had some hummus, or not hummus, chickpeas, which is the ingredient for hummus, with broccoli, a little salsa, a little pink salt, a little oregano, all organic. So I packed it up really good, and I went to a meeting with Ina Mohan and Stacy Hall. Of course, you know Ina from Health, Healing, and Happiness. Stacy Hall, the author of Cheetah Bee, who was generous enough to donate 2 of her books for our giveaway next month for non-GMO apparel. Talk a little more about that next hour. But anyway, so I leave there, and I got my food, and I'm ready to eat before we go on air. And I'm driving around looking for a park to eat in, and I find one, and I stop. No spoon. So what do you do when you don't have a spoon? So I was going to, just kind of pour it in my mouth, but I figured that's like an animal. So what if, what if Taylor Swift were to pull up next to me? And she would say, oh, who's that guy? Oh, wait, he's eating like an animal out of his Tupperware. I'll never talk to that guy again. And that would crush my hopes and dreams because I love Taylor Swift. I'm such a big fan. So that hypothetically, that could happen. So I'm going down West Sahara, and anyone who lives in Las Vegas, West Sahara is 90% car dealerships. So I'm looking for like an Albertsons or a Smith's. I just got to buy a spoon, just one spoon. So all they have is CVS. And I go in there, and all they have is a big box for $2.50, which, if I need a spoon, $2.50 isn't bad. Now I got 47 more spoons. That'll last me 10 more years. But the thing about not just inconvenience, but going into CVS is that every corner you turn, they're advertising flu shots. It's in your face. You go to the aisle where there's paper towels, you see, hey, get your flu shot today. You go to pay, then it's on the little credit card, debit card swiper, hey, get your flu shot. Will you take insurance? And they're almost like those guys on the strip who do that thing with their hands and try to hand out the cards of the scantily clad women. It's like a mild version of that, because everywhere you turn around, they're like flu shots, flu shots, flu shots. And, I'm not too, I haven't done a tremendous amount of research on the flu shots, but what I find out is that there's hundreds of strains of the flu, and they give you a virus for one of those strains that is probably already passed in the so-called, quote-unquote, marketing gimmick known as the cold and flu and cold season. But it's like, man, I just want to get some spoons, and there's propaganda for flu shots all in my face. And I can see how people get them, because if you shop at CVS on a regular basis, it's almost like you can see the advertisements, but they're in the background too. So, and they're so spread out through the stores that they're hitting you subliminally. So from every angle, if you shop at CVS on a weekly basis, you're probably getting all these subliminal messages to get the flu shot. And I just wanted a spoon for my chickpeas and broccoli, and it turned into an experience of me wanting to talk bad about CVS for all their flu shot propaganda. It's incredible. So I always tell people, if you want to eat organic, you want to eat vegan, you want to eat real foods, raw foods, whole foods, I know it's inconvenient, but stop making excuses. But man, one of my favorite guests, Dr. Sowmya, and I'm going to let her say her last name because I think I got it, but I don't want to get it wrong just in case. And we are going to be talking about her Las Vegas homeopathic practice out here. So stay tuned. This is Nick Brannigan. You can get the archive from to the show at healthconspiracy.com.
You're listening to Health Conspiracy Radio.
And we are back with not just a guest, but a new sponsor to the show, Dr. Sowmya Sridharan. Did I get it right?
Sridharan.
See, I shouldn't try to do the tongue curl because it just doesn't sound natural.
Yeah.
Coming from my East Coast accent.
Thank you for having me, Nick.
I appreciate you coming back.
Oh, I'm glad
and
to
you
be
are
here.
a new sponsor of the show, so we're going to be getting some commercials recorded for you, doing some social media, and throwing an event at a date to be determined in sometime probably in November.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, right around Thanksgiving, where people eat too much. What did you have on Thanksgiving last year?
We don't have the culture of eating turkey anyways, and, I am vegan, so I don't eat any turkey. And it was just another day, just being thankful for whatever we get, a bounty of, harvest. That's all we are happy about.
Yeah, you don't need one day to be thankful. It's such a BS holiday. No, but I had I made pumpkin pies from scratch, and they were organic and vegan. Products in it, and very little pesticide and herbicide, and even we use tofu, which I'm not a big fan of soy, but it's organic, non-GMO Project verified tofu.
Right.
Along with the pumpkin pie.
I think, people also have that idea that vegan, organic, these foods don't taste good. So and that's what I like about Stacy. She actually has these programs where she actually demonstrates, food that's being prepared, vegan and
that's
organic.
a different Stacy.
Oh,
Stacy Dugan.
I'm
I know
talking
her.
about Stacy Dugan.
Yeah.
So yeah, she does that, and it's amazing because then people get to taste it, and they're like, "Wow, this is done with vegan foods. This is how they do it." Yeah, that's what we want actually. More and more people showing these things so they can actually learn it and understand that they can be tasty too. So that more people will be willing to try these things.
Yeah, I actually did. I had an event where Shane Stewart, Stacy's partner, was supposed to be there, but he couldn't make it last minute. So I got someone, my friend Angelina. We did a raw food demo, and basically she took walnuts, hazelnuts, pecans, no, some other nut, walnuts, hazelnuts, and something else with some cacao powder and a little bit of agave, some coconut oil. Made these raw brownies.
Wow!
And we also did watermelon smoothies, and that wasn't a crowd that was really into. It was like 30% of the crowd was there because of me and that type of health crowd.
Right.
The rest of the crowd was just kind of there. It was at a race car place that had a grand opening.
Okay.
But they ate it and how is this made of nuts? And where's the sugar? And they loved it, and people don't understand.
Right. People actually think that it's such a big deal to do something like that. They have to go out of the way, and that's where the trouble is coming from. So if they know that it's very easy to do, many more people will try it. Yeah,
you just got to get used to it. People, I think, I don't give my background enough because I was making, this time 5 years ago, the most cooking I would do would be seriously a frozen pizza in the oven. I remember my parents lived with me. My dad called me a garbage eater,
and you call that cooking?
Yeah, he was right. I was at the time, but my point is, if I can make that transition, there's no reason anyone is unable to make that transition.
Yeah.
Going from McDonald's and frozen pizzas to raw foods and vegan, organic.
The beauty of it is the more and more you eat really good and wholesome foods, the one time when I came to the US, I loved, Burger King's onion rings. I used to love it. So I didn't eat it for many, many, many years. And one day I was famished, and I was actually coming to a raw food meetup group, and I was coming from my, work, and I didn't really find anything to eat. I was so hungry, and there was nothing that I could really see. And I saw this Burger King, and I thought, okay, you know what? It might not hurt. I'm just going to go get, onion rings. And I did, and I put one in my mouth, and was like, oh my God, how did I like it ever?
Because your taste buds adjust.
Right. It's just that I couldn't even believe that I liked that, onion rings before. Because I've always eaten healthy, but it was just that after all these years that I haven't eaten it, my body has gotten so attuned to all these wholesome, really good foods that fast food tasted like crap. I mean, it tasted like crap. I just could not believe that, that was something that I enjoyed at one time. So,
like your body has adjusted your palate as a way to reject it, maybe almost.
Right. And I think, it's a good thing that your palate is rejecting it, so you wouldn't really go near it. Now, looking at Burger King, I just close my eyes and run away.
I drive by, I give them the finger. No, that's not very nice. But it's amazing just to think that I was in Jacksonville Beach just for a week with my family, and we went to a place to eat, and I saw my parents split a burger, and on not just a burger but the bun, like white flour is like I can do like a non-GMO verified pizza crust once in a while, but wheat really is a turnoff to me. But seeing them, they cut it in half and they're splitting it, and me and my daughter are sitting there like, ugh, yuck. But I used to eat that stuff. I guess 5 years ago. I'm stretching it now. Yeah, maybe 5 years ago is when I started getting off it. So we could say 6 years ago.
Right.
To be safe, but I couldn't imagine going to any fast food place or any takeout place and just saying, okay, I'll take the burger and fries. Ooh.
I mean, those foods taste so bad too. It's not just that they're bad for you, but just because most people who are eating those foods are so addicted to them that they don't even realize how bad they taste.
Yeah.
It's because of all the things like, additives that are added to it. It just makes them addicted to it, and they are thinking that they actually like the food. Only if they try, something else like wholesome foods for even 2 months and then go back and eat it, they'll actually find that it doesn't taste that good anymore, and they'll also understand that it's not even making them feel good. And I think they just need to make that change, for 2 months. That's it, and then their life will be changed forever.
Yeah, just give it a try.
Right.
But it's kind of, a lot of people are backwards, but, they just got to think different, I guess. Like my sisters, we went to this cafe in Jacksonville, and they actually had raw and organic options on there. Just a few, but they had them. And I got some, I don't even know what it was, but it was like a raw sausage, quote, with raw cashew cheese, and the bread was raw, and they had flax crackers. And my sister tried some. They had flax crackers with the cashew cheese, and she loved it.
Yeah, wow.
So she takes a picture and puts it on her Facebook account. And one of her friends is like, "Oh my God, I would never eat that, even if it was a zombie apocalypse. I'd rather eat brains." It's like, why would you? You don't even know what it is,
right?
And you're eating dead cows that are pumped up on drugs.
I think it's also because most people, when they talk about raw foods, they actually say that everything else is horrible or bad. And so it's almost like, they're just defending their territory. I mean, we're all animals, right? So we all defend our territory. Whenever our personal ideas and personal opinions are, fought against, we just don't like it. Whether it's good for us or not, we just say no right away. And that's the way, our mind works first.
Yeah.
So I think, that's why I always, say to my patients, I don't really ask them to get off of everything right away, because it's a lot for them to take. If they actually feel better, and if they start making small changes at a time, they actually can do that big change later on as they feel better. But for somebody to go from, eating meat and all kinds of foods, even if it's inflammatory, from that to become completely raw and vegan even, it's just a huge change, and they feel like, they don't want to give up all of that for, anything, even if they have to die. I've heard this, many times. People have said this, that they would rather die eating the foods that they love than be healthy and live for 100 years.
Oh, they're crazy.
I've heard this, because it is not that they want to die tomorrow, but it's just that the idea of going off of all these foods just because, somebody said that, it's just, non-palatable.
Yeah, I think it's
Right.
deprivation has a lot to do
Right,
with it. And
right.
I'm glad you kind of teach that to your patients, because in my audio program, The Health Conspiracy and How to End It, that's exactly what I tell people, because that's exactly what I did. Because I already knew, like, once I made that decision, we're like, okay, I want to at least be vegetarian. I want to start eating more organics. I already knew if I went from the Carl's Jr. burgers to kale and almonds the next day, I knew it wasn't going to work. So I was like, I'm just going to start with one meal a day.
Right.
And I did that for like a month and a half. And I went to 2 meals, and I still ate a really bad dinner.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually that bad dinner would start to physically make me feel bad,
Right.
to where I just had to get off it, because I didn't want it anymore.
Right. I mean, you feel it. Your body says it all. I mean, when we talked, you were talking about flu shots, the advertisements for flu shots in CVS.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was actually about to talk about that because it is the upcoming flu season, within quotes.
Yeah, which is just a marketing gimmick.
Right. It's again the same thing. When you eat good foods, your body can really make all the chemicals it needs to make to fight off these infections. Diseases are only of 2 types. You can name them 100 different names, but they're only of 2 different types. One is infectious diseases, another is chronic diseases. So infectious diseases, flu shot, flu is an infectious disease. Most people are so scared of infectious diseases because it actually puts them down and they can't work for a certain period of time, maybe take, a couple of days off from work. And now in this culture, we can't take off from work.
Yeah,
right?
It's crazy.
Right. So what you need is medications to just, pump you up and get to work every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it is. But chronic ailments, people don't really care about it that much because they can pop a pill and keep going to work or do whatever they need to every single day. But infectious ailments are, it's nothing to be scared of. You actually have to be scared of chronic ailments rather than infectious.
Mm-hmm.
The infectious diseases can actually be taken care of with good nutrition. When you have good nutrition, wholesome foods, what it does is it actually improves your immunity. And when it improves your immunity, your body fights it off naturally every single time, as it's doing every single day. Flu season is nothing but just a season that they want to, do marketing for flu shots. But every single day, our body is fighting off something or another, all the time, because we are breathing in bacteria, viruses. We are ingesting bacteria and viruses. I mean, it's in our foods. It's everywhere. Anything that you touch. How are you going to get rid of all these things? Just because our body is strong.
Just live in a bubble.
Right.
But who wants to do that?
Right. But most people are. There are so many people who do that.
Yeah.
They have, hand sanitizers with them, and they have antibacterial soaps. You can't really be, in war with everything. You have to actually be more friendly with things, and things will actually fall in place.
Well, and even that little stuff, like the hand sanitizers, like they sanitize their hand, then they pick up their hot dog and put that in their mouth and consume it.
Right.
It reminds me of like the plane. I was on a plane, and I haven't been on a plane in over a year, and the advice they give is if it's a long flight, get up and stretch and move, which is actually good advice.
Right.
But no one is telling these same people, oh, don't drink that Coca-Cola they're about to serve you with the high fructose corn syrup in it. So it's like,
why would they say that? It's cheap.
well, I know. It's free advertising
Right.
for Coca-Cola.
Right. Why
But
would they say that?
It's how people, they take care of health on one end.
Yes.
Let's sanitize hand, which actually isn't really taking care of health, just the illusion of doing so.
It's actually crazy. If you think about it this way, this is what I say about hand sanitizers or antibacterial soaps. Okay. You are made up of trillions of cells, right? And what is a bacteria? Again, it's cell. It's a cell. It's unicellular. It has only one cell, but it's a cell too. And you are made up of cells too. So let's say you actually use a hand sanitizer to clean your hands. What you're essentially doing is you're killing some of the cells in your own hands doing it. Just because we are trillions of cells, we don't really die because of that. But essentially you are causing harm to yourself when you're trying to kill another bacteria.
Yeah, and I believe we are more, like the human body is made of more bacteria than it is any other material. I don't know if
Right.
that's 100% correct. I'd have to double check that, but
It is true that we
Okay.
are actually made up of a lot more bacteria than even our own cells. And it's true. And we are, when we are friends with some bacteria, we are actually happy with them. We don't have any problems. It's a symbiosis. But the moment you start killing them, now all those spaces need to be replaced by new bacteria, and these bacteria are unknown to us. And what it's going to do is, because it's not known to us, our body is going to take a while to get adjusted to them and to produce the immune response to it so that it can fight it off effectively. And until then, you're going to fall sick.
So that would be the result if you were to take like an antibiotic.
Right.
And
right.
I'm sure you're very smart. You know the definition of a biotic, right?
Yes.
Is it, a biotic?
It's against, anything that's living.
Yeah, exactly. So an antibiotic is literally, the definition is against life.
Right. It is.
Where a probiotic is for life.
For life. And it's just the same way, antibacterial. It's everything is, there is war going on between everything. And we don't have to be. We don't have to be at war always. We can actually have a good relationship with everything. So keeping our body in a relationship first with us, the mind, body, and spirit together. Okay, that's the first thing that we have to do, rather than fight off everything that's around us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy the way it is, like you said, it's a constant war on everything, not just the big wars. So here's what I want to ask you, because I re-listened to our last interview.
Okay.
And here's something I haven't been able to do, and maybe I'm doing it wrong, and you could help me out on this. But raw legumes.
Okay.
The black beans, the lentils. Do you eat that raw? Do you suggest eating that raw?
Some lentils do have to be cooked. It's difficult to digest them if eaten raw.
Okay.
But there are lots of, legumes that can be sprouted.
So like black beans.
Black beans can be sprouted.
I soak black beans and I eat them raw, and they're so gross. What am I doing wrong?
You have to sprout it. So you have to let it sprout for a little bit of, time. So you might have just soaked it and eaten it.
Yeah,
so you just let it, sprout for a couple of days, and then you can actually eat it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it would be soak it overnight.
Right.
Rinse it, obviously.
Yes. And you have to keep rinsing it, at least twice a day.
Oh, during the sprouting
Right.
process. Okay.
And then you leave it on the, table, just on the counter at room temperature. And in a couple of days, you'll start seeing sprouts, which means it has softened. So your body can, break it down easily.
Is the flavor any better?
You might, you cannot eat it just like that. You might want to add like lemon juice.
Oh, okay.
Tomatoes, maybe some avocados even.
Yeah.
What I do is I actually make kind of like a black bean, burrito with it. So I actually sprout them, and I do everything else. Like I put avocados on it. I put lemon juice, tomatoes, cilantro. I put all of these together, and then I put it in a,
So if I make you a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving, you can make me a half dozen of those?
I will.
Nice. So what do you use for, this is always something I've been really dealing with, what do you use for a wrap? Because most wraps either contain high gluten or they're GMO. I can never really find a gluten-free, non-GMO type of wrap.
I'm actually not so particular about gluten-free.
Okay.
I'm not. I can actually, I'm okay with gluten as long as it's wholesome. If it's wholesome, then I don't mind it. If it comes from whole wheat flour or anything that's whole grain, I don't mind it, and it doesn't bother me. It's also because most people have problems with gluten because wheat is in everything right now.
Yeah.
Okay. The food has to be consumed for what it is. That is, before, if you actually saw it like maybe 5-6 years ago, you would eat something that's made out of wheat. You would eat something that's made out of rice, barley, separately, right?
Yeah.
But now, when you actually see wheat, I was so surprised that there was a bag of chips, I think, and in that bag of chips it said wheat. I'm like, why are you, putting wheat in chips? And tomato ketchup has wheat. Syrups have wheat. It's because it's a thickening agent. That's what they use it for.
Oh, because the gluten is a thickener.
Right,
yeah.
right. So that's where the problem is coming from. Most people have allergies to wheat because there is so much of wheat in everything that you eat, and your body is becoming sensitized to too much of anything. So it has to be in moderation. If you eat it as a whole grain, like buckwheat, it wouldn't do anything to you.
That makes sense because, for me, wheat, it just makes me so sleepy. I guess my body just disagrees with it.
Have you tried buckwheat?
I eat buckwheat on occasion.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I mentioned last time I got an allergic reaction to it.
Buckwheat too?
To the whole grain, though. Because I think when I eat the whole grain, my body has trouble digesting. I would get a tightness around my jaw. Okay. But when I process it, just run it through a blender, with some cinnamon, I don't know, blueberries, bananas, a little coconut oil. I try to add greens in there, but it doesn't work out. But when I run it through the blender, I have no reaction to it.
Right.
It's fine. I think it's just that
Because most grains have cell wall, and our body has a difficult time digesting cell wall.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true for kale too. Many people have reactions with kale. They can't eat it. But if they actually do like a green smoothie, they can, usually do better than, making a kale salad. Because the kale salad will have so much of cell wall that your digestive system has a hard time breaking it down. Because especially for people who have been on antibiotics, and they don't have that much bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
The bacteria in your gut, what it does is it actually helps break down the cell wall of the foods that we eat, especially from plants. So if you don't have too much bacteria, these good bacteria, then you have trouble digesting these foods.
And that makes sense because most people just have horrible gut health.
Right.
I'd say that's probably most Americans.
Right,
People
right.
just
yes. And
don't
the thing
realize
is your
it.
gut health, your body's health starts from your gut health.
Mm-hmm.
And you're essentially made up of so many, trillions of cells, and all these cells are fed from the food that comes from your gut. So if that is going to be crap, you're feeding crap to your cells.
Yeah.
Right. And so chronic illness is nothing but these cells are diseased. When they are in, millions of numbers that are actually diseased, you have a problem. You can call it diabetes, you can call it hypertension, you can call it anything that you want. It's just that those cells are really crying out for help. They're saying, please, feed me good food.
Yeah.
Give me balance.
Have
I
you
have
ever-
a problem here.
Have you ever heard of or recommended silver hydrosol?
Yes.
Okay, because my friend who's a host of Natural News, Robert Scott Bell, is in town,
Mm-hmm.
and he was promoting a regimen of silver hydrosol and probiotics.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the exact regimen. It was something like first you did the silver, but it gets a lot. It ingests in the
Mouth, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yes.
explain it the way he did. But then after that, you do silver with aloe vera, which goes directly to the
Right,
gut. But he
right.
said you have to repopulate
Yes.
with probiotics at the end of the night because the silver and aloe are going to pretty much clear everything out of there.
Yes, it will. What we do is we actually like copper as well as silver. Both are really, really good metals. And what they do is they deactivate. Essentially, they don't kill. Okay, it's not like an antibiotic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's not an antibacterial. What they do is they actually work in the way that they actually deactivate the DNA of a bacteria.
Oh, wow.
So this is what they used to do in the olden days. I don't know whether they did it in your, hometown, in your grandma's house, but they do it in my hometown all the time, even now. What we have is we have copper pots. We actually get water. We store the water in the copper pots for at least 24 hours
Mhm.
before we start drinking from it. And in this 24-hour process, all these bacteria are deactivated. And even if you drink it now, it doesn't do anything to you. It doesn't matter whether it's Clostridium, all the bacteria that would cause diarrhea or all kinds of bad things to you gets deactivated completely. A research was done on this, and they actually proved that it gets deactivated completely in 24 hours, and you can drink that water.
So it's almost like a water purifier?
Right. It is.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So copper pots do the same thing. And what we do essentially is we also eat out of silver plates. Okay. I mean, you can say that, it's, it's somebody that's wealthy, but it's not about that. It's like, taking colloidal silver,
Mhm.
right? Or the, silver aqueous solution you said. So it's the same thing. But instead of doing that, instead of taking silver regularly every day, what you do is you buy a silver plate and you eat out of it. Again, when you put food on a silver plate, it acts the same way like copper does with water.
So it's in line with the theory of cooking with the cast iron
Right,
pot.
right.
You get more of that iron in there.
Yes. So same thing happens with silver. So you start consuming a little bit of silver every single meal that you eat. And this also what happens is it's also going to kind of take care of all the bad bacteria in your system, but also it gets rid of the bad bacteria in your food.
Oh, that makes more sense.
Right.
Because you get rid of it before you put it in
Put it
there.
in your, yep.
So if one doesn't have a copper pot, can someone take a handful of pennies and put them into water? Will that work? Or do you think the pennies are too dirty for that?
Yeah, pennies are too dirty.
Because I never even really... Maybe I just don't pay attention enough to dishes, but I never really heard of like a copper pot. Is that something you can get locally, or you got a special order that?
I don't know about now. They used to have it even in the United States. Just if you think about your grandma's house, they must have had cups that were made out of copper.
Mhm.
You used to drink water from the cups. And before I actually realized these things, did research on these things, My father used to do, the same things all the time. We used to have silver plates in the house. We used to have copper pots. But we didn't really understand why we were doing it because it was just handed down to us from generation to generation. That's how my grandma did it. So we did it. But then we did some research on it and we found that actually it does deactivate all the bacteria. And that's why we were doing it. So people were doing that for quite some time. But then, copper is a little bit difficult to maintain the color of it. It gets oxidized easily. So if you keep it out, it starts, changing color a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's why people started getting rid of it and started getting porcelain because it looks fancy. It looks nice.
Yeah.
Right. And I wouldn't really, I like porcelain because it's much, much better than plastic any time of the day.
Oh, yeah. Plastic is hard. That's probably one of my last things that kick is the plastic habit.
Yeah.
Just because the glassware is just very pricey. You can get, a big stack of plastics for like $6 and you get one glass Tupperware for like $15.
Not essentially. You can actually really, it's going to start melting, and I hate the idea of that. I mean, you make all these nutritious foods and then store it in plastic. What's the point?
Well, it's like anyone doesn't believe this. Make a raw juice, put it in plastic, drink it in the morning, and it's not going to taste the same.
Right.
Or make a one in glass right next to it, and you're going to taste a significant difference because that's the chemicals leaching in.
Yes,
and
of course.
we just don't taste it in the water that we drink every day.
And it's even more crazier when people drink water out of these plastic bottles, especially keeping them in their cars for long periods of time.
Oh, yeah.
In this heat.
You might as well just throw them out.
Right, in this heat. It doesn't make sense because you're essentially drinking plastic water, plastic water.
Yeah. Plastic flavored water.
Essentially plastic water itself because there's so much of plastic in it now dissolved into that water.
Yeah, see, even with me, like I still get the gallon of spring water from Whole Foods, but you got to think. In the summertime, where is that water traveling from?
Right.
Is that trucker, is it in a cooled truck? I really doubt it.
I don't think so.
So if you got a trucker who needs to stop for a lunch break or something, that's, an hour of good heat.
Yeah.
Well, that's just stopping, but when you're driving too, that plastic's still getting heated.
Right.
So that's always something to think about. I really need to kind of get a game plan because that's something I've been thinking about for probably a couple of years now, saying I need to figure out how to get off the plastic.
You just throw a couple of them at a time, and that's how you get to that place. Buy a couple of, glass bowls at a time and just keep replacing them.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we will continue this conversation with Dr. Sowmya of Las Vegas Homeopathy. Give us your website real quick.
www.lasvegashomeopathy.com.
Homeopathy, LasVegasHomeopathy.com, and this is Nick Brannigan on Health Consultant. All right, we are back with the best homeopathic doctor in Las Vegas, Dr. Sowmya
Sridharan.
I'm going to get it. I need to get it. You're a sponsor of the show now.
Thank you, Nick.
We're going to See, you say 3 syllables, but when you pronounce it, it sounds like 2 to me.
Sridharan.
Sridharan.
Yes.
Okay. This is really embarrassing.
That's
so
right.
now you have some, you actually have patients come to you. You heal their ailments.
Yes.
Why would you do that? Because, do you know that if you just give them prescription drugs, you get a kickback? And they can be customers for a really long time.
They'll be customers for a long time, but I don't really like, seeing people that are just ailing. It just breaks my heart.
Oh, you have empathy.
Yes, that stupid thing.
That's a bad quality to have.
Yeah, might be. That's probably why I'm still not a millionaire, you can say.
Yeah. So do you have any examples, or do you want to save those for the commercials that we're going to produce?
No, we can actually, talk about that too. As I was saying before, that, diseases are of 2 types, chronic and infectious. And chronic ailments are what we see mostly. And most of these people have tried out all different medications, and they are really in a rut. And that's when they come to us. And it's kind of sad when you see it because they're almost desperate and they feel like they're going to give up. They don't have a choice. They feel like they have to live with this all their life. And within a few months, because it's essentially their body creating this problem, it's a misunderstanding within the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's the intelligence of the cells that's actually causing the problem. So what they need is they need something to correct that intelligence. But most medications, the Western medicine, doesn't do that.
Just suppresses the symptoms.
Right. What it does is it actually essentially makes the symptoms go away, but the problem that is within the system doesn't go away. It stays. So it creates more and more problems until you notice. I mean, what is it saying to you? It's saying, look at me, take care of me.
Yeah, exactly. That's your body speaking to you, saying something is wrong. We need to fix it.
Yes.
And it's like, I guess the classic example is that check engine light on your car, and you put a happy face sticker over it. Check engine light's still on. You can unscrew the bulb, but there's still that problem with that car going on.
Oh, that's very good analogy.
But you, as a doctor, you actually, with the mechanic analogy, fix the engine.
Yes.
Versus just putting that
pretty
little sticker on there.
And, with the food, this is what I say. I say it's almost like, putting the crappiest oil in your car and expecting it to run, at its best. How is that going to happen? The same way nutrition goes. You put the crappiest, foods in there, your body is going to run badly.
Yeah.
And, if you have an imbalance in your system, we actually go through so many things in our lives, not only chemicals outside, the foods that we eat, the environment that we are in, the stresses that we go through. Okay, all of that takes a toll in your body. And then, all the other bad things that we do to ourselves, right? So many of these chemicals that we add to our body constantly, it's all going to take a toll. And when it does, your body can only last for a certain amount of time, and it's going to say, you know what, I'm starting to give up. And that's when you see a disease.
Yeah.
And that's what we try to correct, because people need to feel good. People need to want to live every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Be happy to wake up, right? I have some friends who are on like 20 medications, and every single day she's in pain still. She's aching. She can't sleep, or she's sleeping all the time. Where is the quality of life there?
Yeah, why are you taking 20 pills for it? They're not working.
Right.
At least be like happy and high and not feel any pain. But come on.
Right, but the thing is, that's not how it is. They believe that when they go off of the medication, they're going to die. That's how the pharmaceutical industry has made them believe. And now they don't want to go off it because they're scared. They think that they need to be on it to be alive, to actually go through the day.
But even though they were alive before they got on it.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you're against that as a doctor?
Of course.
You are one of a kind. Now, like even when I was in Jacksonville this past week, and I was still eating vegan, mostly organic, always non-GMO. But like I still I was drinking a lot of Heineken, but I could feel the difference. Like where I was just waking up, I guess I wasn't sleeping too well either. I had these little flat pancake pillows, but like it was such a difference. And like I would eat, then I'd be ready for a nap. Yeah. And like I'm not used to that. I'm used to eating and being ready.
That's also the Heineken doing that. They kill your liver cells every single time you drink them, don't you?
Oh, is that true?
Yes.
Every single time?
Every single time.
What am I supposed to drink when I'm on vacation? Then?
Water.
But what water can get me tipsy though?
Why do you need to be tipsy? Just be happy all the time. That's right?
I was with my family, and it helps to be tipsy. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
That was a joke. My mom's listening now, all pissed off. I'm gonna get an angry text now. No, but it's just the difference I could feel just with all that. Just a few days of that, I just feel like, all right, man, I gotta get off of this and go eat something green.
Yes.
And it's just crazy the difference it makes, but most people feel like that all the time, but they don't realize you don't have to feel like this.
Right. If they just go off of those crappy foods for a little bit, they can actually understand what their body is saying. It's the simplest of things, really. I was so surprised that one time one of my patients asked, I told her, you need to eat when you're hungry. And she said, how do I know when I'm hungry? I was astounded.
Yeah.
I
pretty
didn't.
Funny.
Right.
No, actually, it's kind of sad, but it made me laugh.
Right. No,
I don't mean to laugh at
I was
your
shocked
patient.
actually that somebody wouldn't know that they are hungry, because it's one of the most innate feelings, right? You would know, and that's the urge that has driven us into civilization, into getting these foods. Every single thing, that's hunger.
Yeah.
And we have gone so past it that we don't want to feel hunger anymore, but you're supposed to. That's your body telling you that you're hungry and you need food.
So what do you think about fasting? That's one of the topics.
Fasting is a very good thing. You can do it at least, it depends from, person to person. Some people are good, if they do it at least twice a month, some once a month, depending on it. What really happens during fasting is you give your digestive system a little bit of a rest. When I don't recommend doing completely a water fast for people who have never done it. They should start with maybe a juice fast, fruit and vegetable juice, so that they'll get a little bit of sugar. Otherwise, they can, become hypoglycemic, and that's not something that we recommend.
Yeah, that's we won't have time to get into this completely. Maybe when we have you on next month or the month after. But there's a big battle between juicing right now. People say never do any fruit because you're separating the sucrose from the fiber.
Yes.
And maybe I don't know if that's the case. So. What's
actually,
the short answer?
The thing is, I think juicing is a good thing because if you do want to eat vegetables or make, juices out of vegetables, you're not going to be able to drink it if it's raw. I mean, raw vegetable juice, how many of us will really be able to drink it? So instead of adding a sugar to it or adding something that's an additive, I think, sucrose is still in its raw form.
Yeah, and people kind of act like that sucrose is the same from refined cane sugar.
No, it's not.
It's totally different.
It's not. It's completely different. It's raw sucrose, and that your body actually absorbs it, but it takes a little bit of time to break it down. It's not like table sugar, which gets right into your system. So it's different. And so that's how they should do it, so that their body, the digestive system, gets a little bit of a rest, and their body is still, fueled with these, nutritious foods. And in that time, it can replenish, it can repair the cells that it needs to repair and renew, which is, what our body needs to do from time to time.
So what do you think? And I'm just going to hit you with a few things now. We're running out of time. We could save them for next time, but we can expand on them next time. So there's the low-fat vegans where they say don't have any oil. Actually, let's take away fats because we know avocados and nuts are good. What about the what I like to call the no oil cult? The people that say you shouldn't have any oil all the time.
No, I don't believe that. That doesn't make sense because you do need natural oils. Your body makes natural oils too, and plants make natural oils, and that's the way it is. Even moisture in our body is not really moisture. It's not water. It's fat.
Yeah.
Right. So you do need some fat, that can actually be absorbed into your body, and you do need fat as a good fat. And we are, at least 15% of our body needs that essential fat. Otherwise, we'll be dead.
I just don't get that one. Like the Dr. McGregor fella, vegan doctor, I forget where he's out of, nutritionfacts.org. He'll say coconut oil is bad, but he'll cite a bunch of studies to where it doesn't say if it's organic coconut oil, unrefined virgin organic coconut oil, or the refined stuff that's bleached and put detergent in it. So how can you say coconut oil is bad when you don't know what type of coconut oil it is?
Actually, coconut oil, they came up with a research that said that it has a lot of antioxidants and it even kills bacteria. So if somebody has like a bacterial infection or something, it's good to actually, take the coconut oil or apply coconut oil on, topically, wherever it is.
Okay, now here's the big one. I say I'm vegan. You said you're vegan. What about honey? Raw organic honey.
Honey has been used as a medicine, not as food. That's the difference. It's not a food. It's a medicine, and it's been used for many, many, many centuries. Okay, because actually it does in its raw, unfiltered form, unpasteurized form. It actually is beneficial as a medicine, which means you have to consume it in small quantities. When you have a problem.
So putting 2 tablespoons in my smoothie is, you say no to that?
That's not medicine.
It's pre-medicine.
No,
just in case.
Not every single day.
But food be thy medicine.
Right,
Honey be
not
thy
every
food.
single day.
Oh, of course.
Not every single day. But you can actually take that with certain things. We actually use them for cold. Some colds, you can actually add pepper and, something that's very strong. And, kids won't eat it. So you add a little bit of honey to it, and then you actually give it to them. They will, and it takes care of the cold. It actually is a decongestant.
Yeah, see, my daughter, she wouldn't eat a tablespoon of honey. She doesn't like it, weirdo. I mixed with apple cider vinegar before and forced it on her, and I think she doesn't like it. But okay, that's kind of a good answer, but I still think a lot of the vegan people would be upset. But what I notice the difference is the people that eat raw, whole food type of vegans are okay with honey.
Right.
And it's the junk food vegans that eat white flour and GMOs who don't care about what they eat is the ones that have a problem with honey.
I don't have a problem with honey. It's not just being, vegan. It's not even a morale thing. It's about really, it's again a sugar. So if it is used as a medicine, you can use it. But if it's not, if it's more like a sweetener, then you're better off using something like raw stevia, the green powder, not the white powder.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I didn't know. I still got to learn the difference.
Yeah, the green powder is directly from the leaf. The white is bleached version of it.
Oh.
Right. The white, just for the sake of, looking good. White always looks good, right?
Yeah.
In this world, yes.
Wait a second. I think that was a racial comment. No.
No.
But we're out
Why
of
do we
time
have
already.
white flour, white sugar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all the white's the worst.
Right.
Wait a second.
No.
But I appreciate you coming back. I won't say you're my favorite guest, but you're in the top 3.
Oh, thanks.
It's you, Mike Muller,
Okay.
and of course Liam Sheff, our mutual
I'm
friend.
I'm glad.
So we appreciate you coming on as a sponsor. So we're going to be hearing more from you on the show, setting up
Right.
an event. And real quick, 10 seconds, give us your website one more time.
Las Vegas homeopathy.com.
All right, everyone check that out. And this is your best doctor in Las Vegas. Thanks for coming on, and we will see you next time.
Thank you so much, Nick, for having me.
Views and opinions expressed on this program were those of the hosts and guests and did not necessarily reflect those of Vegas All Net Radio, its affiliates, or its parent company.